Cheerio, old chaps, and welcome to this edition of PC's Take, where we will be reviewing the movie The King's Speech, where the tagline for this movie is, "When God couldn't save the king, the queen found someone who could." This movie is based on a true story, so you're going to see a great deal of history, if you're into history. In addition to a star-studded cast of Colin Firth playing the king, you're going to see Helen Bonham Carter as his wife. You're going to see Guy Pearce playing the part of King George's brother. And you're going to see Geoffrey Rush, who you probably recognize as Captain Barbossa. But in this movie, he's playing the speech therapist Lionel Logue. Again, this whole movie deals with the fact of what do you do when you're a public speaker and you can't speak properly. That's the dilemma that's facing King George, who, interestingly enough, this is the true story of Queen Elizabeth's father. I'll have to admit, when I first was going to see this movie, I'm not a big history fan, but I ended up walking away pleasantly surprised. Like most history stories, you are going to already know what the ending is. And the ending is going to be the culmination of King George giving his famous speech right at the brink of World War II. What's good about this movie is how he got to that point, from being a stuttering king who couldn't speak in front of large audiences or even in front of his daughters when he had to tell a bedtime story, to the point where he's at now at the end of the movie. It's a great journey that you see, and a great relationship between Geoffrey Rush's character and Colin Firth's character as well. From a scriptural standpoint, it's pretty simple to see that when the king had his speech, he had a stuttering problem, and that was his weakness. For us watching here, I'm sure every one of us has some sort of weakness or vice that we face on a daily basis. Paul was reminded from God in 2 Corinthians when God told him that my grace is sufficient for you. Paul prayed 3 times, God, take away this thorn in my flesh. But God said, you know what? My strength is going to be made perfect in your weakness. And the same thing is true for us, that when we look at whatever vices, whatever difficulties we go through, really God is using those to make us stronger. God is using those to bring us closer to Him. And in the end, God's grace and His power and strength are always made clear in our weakness. The movie itself is rated R. And again, a lot of people will wonder why it would be rated R. And that's because in one, maybe 2 scenes, there's a part where Colin Firth's character, the king, because of his impediment, goes off on a cursing spree with a lot of salty language. I guess the movie could have been made without those scenes and probably very easily could have had a PG rating. But because of that, you as a viewer need to be aware. So I gave it 3.5 popcorns out of 5. Again, great movie, good brush up on history, and again, you won't be disappointed if you go and see the movie. That's PC signing off from Salt the Earth Pictures, where I'm off to have me a bit of tea. Cheerio, chaps. See you next time.